Hello everyone. In this video, we will explore artificial intelligence. It links to machine learning, how it is connected with machine learning, and its history. So let's begin with the origins of AI. And you won't believe me. This whole all the AI or idea behind AI started with a simple question and just try to guess. And that simple question is, can machines think? I'm going to write it down in the whiteboard. Think like humans. Just with basic simple question, and that's where it all started. And what happened in 1950, there was like a brilliant mathematician and pioneer in computer science scientist named Alan Turing. In 1950, Alan Turing, a brilliant mathematician and pioneer in computer science, introduced the concept of what we now call the Turing test. He introduced this word, introduce Turing test. And he published this in his paper name or titled Computing Machinery and Intelligence. The interesting question or interesting part now is, what is this Turing test, right? How this is important, right? Which he introduced in his paper. To understand this, let's assume certain scenario. Let's assume this is, I'm going to draw some really good drawing. Let's assume this is you sitting somewhere in the world, and of course you are very happy currently, so let's make some smiley faces, right? And you are going to interact with two unseen participant. Unseen is quite important. The reason I will tell you later. So let's assume we do have a participant 1, which is going to be another human like you somewhere, and we will have we have another participant which is going to be a program or machine. Let's refer this as a AI box. That's why this unseen is really important. The reason is, for example, if you know you are interacting with a machine, you will be biased to make any decision. So we want to avoid this bias, right? So how can we do that? So of course you are not going to interact in person. Instead of, you are going to use, let's call it chat. You are going to prefer chat as your communication method. And of course, let's assume you will be using your laptop, desktop. Now also assume there is like a very thin wall between you and participant, so you cannot see who is sitting on the other side. Using chat, you are going to interact with participant 1 and with participant 2. Now you are going to just try to answer one very basic question: which one is machine or which one is human, or there is no machine, right? So your goal is to figure out which one is the human. If you cannot consistently do that, distinguish the machine from the humans, the machine is said to have passed the Turing test, right? And this test laid the groundwork of AI as we know it today. Not only this, Alan Sir was really brilliant guy, also worked during World War II to break the German Enigma. There was one device called Enigma. This Enigma was a device used by Germans during World War II for the communications. And the communication through Enigma was encrypted, so you cannot understand even if you intercept, right? So Alan Sir worked during World War II to break this machine, they break this code, which resulted in saving countless lives during this World War II. And the machine he created, Alan Sir, the machine he created, his invention, they call it to basically decrypt, right? Name was Bombi. It's funny, yeah, that's what they name it, Bombi machine. And still, this Bombi machine is considered a forerunner of modern computers. Not during that time, but even nowadays. I hope now a bit history is clear or origins of AI is clear. Now, the interesting part is which is trending nowadays, we call it generative AI. Well, now let's understand what is generative AI. Consider this generative AI. This is a type of artificial intelligence, but it has some extra capabilities. Something is really different, which make this or application developed in generative AI completely different. It's basically creates new content. So when you develop any application, let's say if I create app 1 using generative AI capability, it is going to create new content always, new content like, let's call it text, images, videos, music, etc. So nowadays, if you are using Chat GPT, that's a generative AI. So in chat, you just say, create me this image, and Chat GPT is creating that image for you on the fly, right? That's a new content, right? So it could be new text, it could be new image, it could be new video, could be new music. So what is difference between like a traditional one where we also used to do some sort of very similar stuff. So here the core difference is, instead of just looking at the patterns in the data, AI produces something completely new based on what it has learned from that data or the information which you have provided. We call it knowledge base. We will see that in future or in next videos. And in generative AI fields, the two most popular models which are widely used, the first one is GANs. GANs consist of two parts. The first one is generator, and what it basically, as name suggests, it basically generates data, new data. So if you are trying to create some sort of text generator, then of course you can use GAN model or GAN architecture. And the next important component is, we call it discriminator. And the main part or the main job of this discriminator is just to evaluate its quality. So it does the evaluation of the content or data produced by the generator, and these two works together. And this GAN architecture or model, they are widely used for image and video generation. So if you want to write this as an example, image and video generation, you would find GAN's models, GAN architectures are in action if you are trying to create some sort of application where you are going to generate new images, video generate, or trying to combine the video images, etc. etc. The next one, which is quite interesting, and most probably you are using that in your day to day life nowadays. And the second one is transformers, such as ChatGPT. Very popular, very commonly used this ChatGPT. So if you are using ChatGPT, the ChatGPT in background heavily using transformers techniques or transformers models. And these transformers models dominate the natural language, right? So if you think about application like a natural languages and multimodal application, enabling tasks like a text generation, text translation, and image creation, right? So there are like a multimodal which make this like a completely different from other. That's why it is widely used. So in ChatGPT, widely or heavily they are using transformers architecture models in background. Now, this is at very high level. In future videos we are going to understand and uh, talk about more about GANs, transformers, etc. in the details. The interesting question comes like now this generative AI is trending, AI, deep learning, machine learning, all those things, right? So it's quite overwhelming. And as a beginner, what I have seen, or as a fresher, they are always confused. They don't know what is connection between generative AI to machine learning, or is there any relation? Is there no relation, right? Something like that. So to understand this, I'm going to create one diagram which will give you or help you to visualize what is basically or generative AI connection to machine learning. So let's assume we do have this big box which represents our AI. So this whole box is represents artificial intelligence. Now inside this box I'm going to draw another box, and this box is going to represent, or let's call it, machine learning. If you are coming from a traditional machine learning background, so you know already supervised learning. So I'm going to write it down a bit. Supervised learning, let's put that in one box. Then you have unsupervised learning. I'm just going to represent this as a dot dot. Supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and then one is very popular, which is deep learning. So I'm going to draw another box, and let's say this box represents deep learning. In deep learning, then you have like a CNN, RNN, which are like a very popular and widely used architecture and models in the industry. And this is where inside this box your generative AI fits in, right? And inside generative AI, so for example, we talked about a very basic things about GANs, then second one transformers and VAs, etc. etc. These Generative AI like a GANs, transformers, they are heavily using or relying on the deep learning techniques like a neural network, CNN, RNN architecture. That's why the right representation is inside deep learning. So in next video, we will explore the pattern used in the industry to create AI applications and discuss the skill sets needed to develop one.